Now that all of our controls have been made, the last thing to do is do a little bit of organization in the outliner to finish our rig up and make it ready to go to bring into our scene. So right now we have a lot of different stuff in our outliner, and we also can get into the joints, which we don't want people to be able to do. We want our animators to only be able to control the things that we want them to control. So we have to do a little bit of cleanup to make our rig finished. So I'm going to start off with hitting, with nothing selected, I'm going to say Command G to just make an empty group, and we're going to call this the character rig. Underneath the character rig, we need a couple other groups. So we're going to do another group. We're going to call this the joints. We'll do another group, call this the controls. And do another group, call this IKs. We're going to group all of these three together. Select all three, hit Command G, name this the rig. And let's do a little bit of parenting to organize these up. So the joints goes under the joints group. All of the controls go under the controls group. And all four IKs go under the IKs group. So we're just organizing these. The joints and the IKs group, we're going to turn them off, the visibility off, so we cannot see them. And the thing to do to clean up the controls is there's actually two things we can do to make this rig really user-friendly. So all of the controls that are FK controls, we want to lock and hide any attribute that we don't want people to be using. So that is the scaling and the translation. So I'm going to select all of my FK controls, which is the head, neck, chest, spine, and hula. I'm going to highlight the translation and scale. I'm going to right click and say lock and hide selected. So now you cannot move this. It's locked down. The center of gravity control, we can move and rotate. So we're just going to lock down those guys. Same with the wrist controls. We can move and rotate them. And the elbow controls, we only want people to be able to move them. Lock and hide. Let's do the same for the legs. Only moving knees. The ankles, we can move and rotate. And then the balls of the foot, we can only rotate. So lock and hide. Okay, so now we can only do things to the controls that we want people to be able to do. The next thing is to make them just a little bit easier to see and distinguish which side is which. So we can actually color code our controls. So in the attribute editor, under the shape, we go to object display, outliner color, drawing overrides. We're going to enable the override, and I'm going to make this side red, this side blue, and the center yellow. So I'm going to quickly scrub until I find that bright red. Red, 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 red. Very nice. Let's do blue on the other side. And then we're going to do yellow for all the controls in the middle. All right, so it's really easy to see what controls we're working with now. The last thing we want to do here is on our mesh. You might notice when I was trying to grab my controls, I was grabbing the mesh. So I don't want to be able to do that. So I'm going to make a layer that holds my character. So I'm going to click this button, which creates a layer and also adds the selected object. We're going to name this mesh, like character mesh. Save. And then in order to make sure that I cannot touch it, I'm going to turn it to R, which means reference. So that third one, turn it to R. And then now I cannot select my mesh. So I can only grab the controls. So this is very user-friendly. The last things for organization, we're going to make a global control for our rig so that we can reposition it. So just a regular control at the base of your model. We're going to freeze its transformations and delete its history. This is the global control. I'm just going to parent the rig underneath the global control, and then we're going to parent the global control and the character under the rig. So here we have our mesh, our global control, and then everything in our rig. This control is really useful because it allows us to move our character around. We can rotate it. We can also scale it to fit into our scene. And as a final step, we can turn it yellow if we want. All right, so our rig is done. We just have one node in the outliner, and we have this layer here. Okay, that's it. You have a rig.